What is up, my dudes? Welcome back to Storytime with your favorite Reddit fairy. My name is Lorna, and today we're getting into some petty revenge. That's right, it's about to get vengeful up in this bitch. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and let's get right into it. I kept getting collection calls for someone else. Wouldn't stop until I left messages for their CEO and CFO at home. Posted by user Christ is here. I lived in a corporate relocation apartment for 3 months while relocating for a new job. I started getting collection calls for the previous occupant almost immediately. They called multiple times a day. It would wake up my kids during naps, after bedtime, weekends, you name it. I started by politely letting them know that I wasn't the person that they were looking for, nicely, rudely, begging, you name it. They were incredibly rude and refused to tell me their names, name of their supervisor, etc. I was at my wit's end. After one particularly nasty encounter, I snapped. I started Googling, pre-Google equivalent, their corporate officers, etc. I found that the CEO and CFO had a very unusual names and quickly discovered they had publicly listed phone numbers. Yes, it was not a huge bank, and this was early 2000s before people were exclusively using cell phones. This was approximately 8 p.m. on a Sunday night. I called each number explaining that since I kept receiving collection calls from their company, in spite of not being the person that they sought, every time they called me, I would call them. Left my phone number and name and hung up. Not even 10 minutes later, I got a call from their IT department asking for all the pertinent info. Who the customer was, my name, and how to spell it. I never got a call from them again. I hope someone got fired. Oh shit. They can be so ruthless. Oh my god. I've been a telemarketer before for the Canadian Red Cross Association. Yes, I was that annoying bitch that would call and say, "Hey, I see you haven't donated in a while. Did you want to come back and bless us with that red gold mine that's flowing through your veins?" I got hung up on a lot. I didn't really word it that way. I kind of wish I did. Maybe I would have got more response if I worded it that way. Oh boy. Fuck collection agencies though. They're ruthless. They're ruthless and nothing is ever good enough for them. Break up and ghost me? Don't expect me to take advantage of my kindness. Posted by user VictoryScreech0101. Fucked up the title. Whoops. My now long-distance ex-girlfriend broke up with me a couple of months ago. Did it in a horrible way, but I'll spare you the details. Basically, she didn't give me any reasons, was super confusing and contradicting, and then told me she wanted to be friends, but then the next day said we were going to have a clean break, not a discussion, and to not contact her ever again. I was distraught, as you can imagine. It took a few weeks to finally come to terms with everything and realize this wasn't something wrong with me, but something wrong with her. But her demeanor when I asked if she was ready to talk and responding to me with these super impersonal messages that read like a work email, I had enough. See, for her birthday back in June, I flew down to see her and went all out. I made sure to prioritize experiences over possessions since that's what she was all about, and planned a surprise trip with her friends for a girls' trip and got her a ticket to day 3 of ACL. Well, the trip happened a couple weeks ago, and I see it all over Instagram from her friends. They're all very vain people who care most about their social clout, so I was able to see the entire trip like I was there. Afterwards, all her friends are thanking each other for seeing one another and planning such a great trip. I still hadn't heard anything from my ex and wasn't sure if she was entitled enough to go through with this, but she was. Which brings me to the petty revenge. I had dropped off a bunch of her stuff when I got a new job. Got the job 6 days after she broke up with me and went from 22 hours away to 3. And I dropped off her ACL ticket at that time. This was back in September. Remember how I said all she cared about was her social clout? Well, this past weekend, I see that she's at day 2 of ACL and posting all about it. And then day 3 happens, and I see her post Instagram stories about walking up to a festival grounds and how she can't wait to see her favorite artists, Lizzo and Cardi B. And suddenly, there's nothing else after that, because I had sold the ticket a week ago. It was both amazing and unsurprising that she was that big of a fool and felt that entitled to not see this happening. I haven't heard anything from her and don't expect to, but I would have loved to see her get denied at the festival entrance. I guess I could have, since I now only live a few miles away from ACL, but she's not worth that effort. And I also made my money back and more from the concert ticket. Best I've ever felt in a long time. TLDR, bought girlfriend a concert ticket for her birthday. Months later, girlfriend breaks up with me. I sell concert ticket. Ex goes to concert, but can't get in. Update. I went to pay a friend on Venmo and I saw transactions on there from her. On Saturday, a friend paid her and it said ACL ticket. This morning, it looks like she paid her friend back since it said ACL ticket, sad face. So, looks like she tried to profit off of it. Good for you. Like, oh, how entitled. She thinks after you break up that she'd still be able to go to that concert? Ugh, gross. What a gross person. I think you dodged a bullet there. Telescammer. Let's see how quick you are. Posted by user Sparks1311. I received a robocall on my work phone, which is paid for by my employer, not attached to my name/info in any way, the other day, and it informs me of some suspicious activity around my social security number, and it asked me to please press 1 to be connected with an officer right away in order to prevent your arrest warrant from being posted. I was driving across Wyoming and bored out of my mind, so I decided to see how far down the rabbit hole I could go. I pressed 1. They picked up right away. Must have been a slow day in Chedurthi, India, and a gentleman with a thick accent said, "I'm not going to do this accent because I'll sound like an asshole if I try." So, okay, let's get back into it. "Hello, how may I direct your call?" So I put the highest level of concern and anxiety in my voice and said, "I just received a call from you guys saying that there's been some suspicious activity attached to my social security number, and I don't want to go to jail." I could hear the Dr. Eggman smile in his voice when he replied, "Yes, I see that now. Can you verify the warrant number that was given to you?" "There is no warrant number," I said. "I don't want to go to jail. How do we take care of this right away?" He asked me to verify my name and the last 4 of my social security number, so I neatly obliged. Richard Long, 6789. I heard some typing, and after a few seconds, the scammer replied, "Ah, I see your record now, Mr. Long. Looks like there are 4 warrants in your name from IRS. We can have these reduced to fines only, which you can pay with Visa gift cards. Can you verify full social security number for me?" "Oh, thank God. I was really worried," I replied. "I can't go to jail. You know what they do to me in there? The other inmates would want to have sex with me. I have a very feminine body." "Oh, yes, of course they would," says Mr. Scammer. "It would not be a good time. All you need to do is verify your full social security with me and we can proceed with the payment of your fines." "Oh, yes, of course. It's 123456789. I stammer. There was silence on his end of the line. Finally, he comes back on and says, "Sir, do you think this is a joke?" "Absolutely not," I replied as indignantly as possible. "That is my social security number. Double check it right now. My name is Richard Long, but my friends called me Dick. I work in the J. Edgar Hoover building in Washington, and I can't go to jail." There was another moment of silence. I thought for sure this dimwit had finally hung up on me. Then he came back on the line. "Dick Long?" "Yes, sir." Oh my God. This was followed again by a moment of silence, then the most satisfying scream of frustration and a resounding click as he hung up on me. Ron White was right. You can't fix stupid. Guys, if you haven't seen these scammer videos on YouTube, you should really check them out. They can do some gnarly shit to their computers, but I'm still waiting for the one that just completely shuts them down because you know they have backups on their sites. They can easily back up whatever you've deleted off of one single computer. You gotta like shut down their internet. Like you gotta spam their internet with like illegal sites. Like get them shut down that way so they can't even get online. Nothing. But yeah, you gotta watch some of those videos. They get pretty intense. Oh boy. Already know how to hold a kitten? No kitten for you then. Posted by user jazzlike_audience. Okay, real quick. This was originally posted on Malicious Compliance, but mods said it didn't fit and removed it. Some of you Redditors suggested it would be better placed in PettyRevenge instead, so here we are. Now with cat tax included. Bit of a background here. I'm currently fostering some tiny kittens that require bottle feeding every 4 to 6 hours. Not my first foster litter, and definitely not my last. So far, they've been very nice, cute kittens that purr. Our work has a lax policy about bringing pets, so I've been bringing these guys with me since, they need frequent feeding. Sometimes when a client comes in, I'll hand them a kitten while they wait, especially if they have a family with children with them. The kids are thrilled. The parents take photos of the kids oohing and awing over the fuzzy animals, and the kittens enjoy the attention. Win-win for everyone. The only thing is, I know not every kids know how to hold kittens, so I'm often explaining how to do it safely and offering support. Most times, the children are just giggly with happiness and totally receptive to anything I have to say, and things go well. Anyway, one evening we get this family that comes in. A mom and her 3 girls. The youngest is a toddler and passed out. The other 2 are like 7 and 10. The 10-year-old is at that stage of life where she thinks she knows everything. Just real flippant answers to mom and myself. I already knew that, mom. Ugh. Complete with the eye rolling and scoffing. It's delightful. It's taking a while to get their stuff together, so to keep me from strangling the 10-year-old, I decide to offer a kitten. The girls seem thrilled, and I snag a kitten. I go to the 10-year-old first, much to the 7-year-old's dismay, and start to hand over the kitten to the older girl, going into my spiel. Okay, you want to make sure you're supporting the whole body. 10-year-old rolls her eyes at me. Yeah, I've held hundreds of kittens before. It's not new to me. I pause briefly and think, really, bitch? I'm about to hand you this adorable kitten when you literally had nothing to do before this and you want to try this with me? An evil idea penetrates my skull and I act fast. I snatch that kitten back before she can so much as brush its fur with her fingertips and plaster the most sickly sweet smile on my face. Oh, you have? Well, this would probably be very boring for you then. Let's just go ahead and give them to your sister. And I proceed to hand the kitten over to the 7-year-old, who is just vibrating with excitement. I'm making sure to keep a hand on the kitten's body so I can guide the kid through holding the kitten as I continue with. I don't think I've even held 50 kittens, much less hundreds. This kitten is so soft, but I'm sure you've seen softer. That's a lie. About how many kittens I've touched, I mean. That kitten was incredibly soft. It's got blue eyes, the 7-year-old yells to mom. 10-year-old looks fucking devastated, but can't do anything except sulk because, after all, she's held hundreds of kittens. Needless to say, she left our office without so much as touching a pinky to that very purring kitten. TLDR, offer tiny baby kitty for older sister with advice how to hold. Older sister says she already knows everything, so I instead give kitten to younger sister to pet, leaving no kittens for older sister. Edit. I had to rescind the cat tax because one of you is a monster. Got a message directly to my personal email about how I didn't deserve to foster and how my uterus should be cut out of my body so I can't reproduce because I jokingly thought the word bitch about a kid with an attitude. I still would have probably left the cat tax up, but you talked about tracking me down and taking my foster kittens away, and honestly, I don't really need to worry about that while trying to wean these fluffy monsters. If you want the photos, PM me. Otherwise, they're off. Sorry guys, feel free to downvote me for this if you want. Holy shit, people are fucking nasty. That is horrible. Okay, I'm sorry, but I have in my head called a little girl a bitch before. So, yeah, I can't fault them for that because everybody has these thoughts. Anybody who tells me that they always think positive are liars. You're liars. You know you have some negative, nagging thoughts in your head sometimes, but it's your character that overrides those thoughts. So she didn't call her a bitch. She just thought it. So her character told her, no, do not translate that to your mouth to form those words. Say these words instead. So that shows she has character right there. So whoever's been giving her threats, you guys are fucking dickheads. And you guys need to stay away from the internet because, yeah, not nice. But good for OP, man. Like, teach that little girl a lesson. Maybe you shouldn't be so entitled. It's like a little Karen in the making, but hopefully not. Hopefully that taught her some valuable lessons. Melting chocolate. Posted by user Cyanide is Everywhere. So this happened a few years back. My sister was being a bit of a jerk, basically taking my stuff and then trying to get me to pay her back to get them and crap like that. So here's the revenge. Our relatives had come over recently in the summer and given my sister a heck ton of chocolate. I don't know why. This coincided with the fact that my sister was going to a camp thing her school was doing. Now, what did I do? Well, you know how in the summer chocolate melts a lot? You can see where this is going. My sister had a cooler she was using to store the chocolate, and I placed the chocolate on her windowsill and closed the curtains. A few days later, she came back, and when she'd come into the driveway with my dad, I hurried to get the sagging chocolate into her cooler. She freaked the hell out. My dad decided to make a cake with it. Can you, I don't know if I would use that for a cake. I mean, would it still be good if it was sitting in the hot sun after a while and it all melted? Like, would it still be good? Like, you wouldn't get sick from that? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't trust it, to be honest. That's some good pettiness right there. Posted on Ask Reddit, what's your worst roommate story? Was told to post here as well. Posted by user ClearCut23. Both 19. Both worked in the same industry at the time, but for different companies. Friday night, he threw a party. I had to tell work the next morning, and he didn't. No big deal, 19-year-old's party. Around midnight, the party was winding down, and I was in bed. All of a sudden, I hear a dirt bike kick off and start doing burnouts in our kitchen. My dumbass roommate pulled his dirt bike into the kitchen and was power braking the fuck out of the linoleum. This was a little 2-bedroom house, and we shared a driveway with our landlord. Nothing I could do about it at the time. I figured if I said or did anything, it would probably end in a fist fight, and I had to be up in 4 hours. Woke up sometime later and everybody was gone, including my roommate. Dirt bike is still parked in the kitchen. I pissed in the gas tank and went to work for 9 hours. Came home from work and he had it partially pulled apart in the garage and was working on it. I asked him what was wrong with it and he said, I don't know, it's acting like it has water in the fuel tank. I still laugh about it sometimes, almost 20 years later. If it's acting like water's in the fuel tank, why don't you empty the fuel tank? Oh, that's good. That's not nice, but this is petty revenge, right? That's pretty petty. Somebody pissed in my motorcycle tank, I'd be pissed. Literally. Literally! Oh my god. My grandpa, the Malicious Pot Farmer. Posted by user Kevlars. The story starts at Easter dinner at my grandparents' house. The dinner discussion turned to the feud. They have been feuding with their neighbors for the better part of a decade. I forget how all of it started, but Grandpa's biggest objection to their lifestyle was that they were growing pot right at the property line last summer. And with it becoming legal to grow here in Canada, he figured it was going to get worse. So in a fuck you move that would make every old grump smile, he planted a crop of his own, right along the property line. He did everything right, babied those things, with one important deviation from the norm. He pulled the females. Okay, for the uninitiated, cannabis flowers are gendered. Female flowers have all the fun stuff, THC. Males have pollen. Usually, you kill a male plant on site because if it pollinates your female flowers, you get seeds instead of THC. TLDR, Grandpa ruined his neighbor's weed crop by turning the whole crop seedy. That is such a good petty revenge. That is so good. I knew exactly where they were going because I had this problem myself when I was trying to learn how to grow. I grew this beautiful plant. It was beautiful, I tell you. But sadly, I discovered it was a male because all that was coming out where the buds should be coming out were seed pods. So it didn't turn out how I wanted it to. But I will try again, I promise you. But I love this story. This is the best one so far, I think. I love it. Clean the classroom before doing my job? No. Posted by user Fat Jokes on Me. A post I saw yesterday reminded me of this story. I don't know if it belongs here, but anyway. As many know, English isn't my first language, so grammar Nazis, just keep it cool. Here's the story. I was an IT expert in a company that serviced mostly schools, colleges, and education facilities in general. Summer vacation is the perfect time to do general maintenance jobs, as there is little work and no students. One large school called for a full-day job, connecting and configuring a new computer lab. The computers are already on site, so it's just a matter of connecting some cables and configuring the network. Easy. Or so I thought. I get there and the chief maintenance guy shows me into a classroom. It's a wreck. All the tables are piled into a huge pile on one side of the room. Computers are in another room, still packed and waiting to be opened. Not all are new though. Some old and beat up. Clearly bought in bulk in some auction. Unclear what's their status. Note that once I open and install the computer, I am fully responsible for its working condition, no matter how it was before I got there. On top of it all, the room was freshly painted. Huge pile of dirt and junk in the middle of the floor, but the smell is unbearable. And to top it all, no network infrastructure or even electricity anywhere. As a specialist, I expect to get the room ready, clean, tables in place, hooked up with the power and network. I can do most of it myself, but that's not in the contract. And will take a week, not one day. And I'm not an electrician, so I don't do power outlets and infrastructure. First thing, I take pictures of everything. The wall of tables, lack of infrastructure, broken computers, and send it to my boss with a big question mark. While I wait for him to call me back, I look for the chief guy and ask him what he expects me to do. He just shrugs and say, just clean the pile and install the computers. What about power? Network? Dunno, don't understand computers. My boss calls me and asks, what the fuck is that? I tell him what's going on here. He just orders me to pack my stuff and get back to headquarters. It's not my job to clean the trash or place tables. I mentioned the new computer status and he lightens up. I can't maintain computers who are broke before they brought them. It can void the contract. So I tell the chief I am leaving, and he is not happy, of course. He tries to yell at me, but I just give him my boss's number, even suggest I would dial from my phone, save him the call. He calls and starts to yell at the boss. That just pulls up the contract and claims that the site isn't ready, and by the pictures I sent him, it will not be ready in the next 2 weeks at least, so he can offer to send an infrastructure crew to get it ready for extra pay, or wait for the chief to call him back and prove that the site is ready. Oh, and they have to pay me for my extra visit. Sweet. The chief goes crazy, starts shouting profanities, threatening to get violent on me or any other company tech that will ever get to that school. It was on my phone, and it was recorded. So I grab my phone and get the hell out of there. From the car, I sent a recorded call to my boss, who happily charged the school for the visit, before voiding the contract on the base if the tech doesn't feel safe to work there with such a violent chief. I didn't get back to that location, though I think the other tech have been there, so I figured things were sorted out eventually. Not a big boom ending, just made them pay for being rude. Still tastes sweet. OP, I think you could also cross-post this to asshole tax. r/asshole tax. That guy was clearly an asshole. You gotta love these people that think that you're gonna do a job that you're not there to do. Like, no? No? What? It's like going to the library and expecting them to fix your car, you know? Oh, fuck. And the last story of the day is called Want the House? Best Pay For It Then. Posted by user Duple Writes. This story isn't mine, rather it's my dad's, but I thought it would fit here and that some of you might get a kick out of it. So a few years back, my dad was married to his second wife. She was one of those slightly attractive, very vindictive, extremely manipulative women who just screamed gold digger, and my dad was her new honeypot. They had a secret affair while he was still married to my mom, then made him divorce her, and they very quickly got married at the brand new vacation home that he bought just for the wedding. It was all very romantic and very, very expensive. Soon enough, she wanted a new car, so he bought it for her. Then, she wanted a jet ski to go with the new vacation home. Easy enough, he swiped his card and she got one new jet ski, then a boat, then a second car, then plastic surgery and a facelift. Finally, she decided that the 4-bedroom house that they were staying in was too small for them. He needed to buy a new house, and it best be to her liking. By this point, my dad had already blown through all of his savings in order to keep up with her spending, but keep up he must, and for she'd kick him out with a fuss and cry and scream if he didn't give her what she wanted. So, he took out a loan in both of their names. They bought a gorgeous 6-bedroom house and spent a shit ton of extra cash to completely renovate and modernize it. Sadly, this happened at the worst of times. Just a month after the house was complete, my dad got retrenched. Suddenly, the honeypot had no more honey, and the beekeeper had lost all of his bees. Naturally, she didn't like this. Soon enough, she found another man. A rich, married man who had enough cash to keep her interested. She filed for divorce and demanded my dad give her the house and everything else he bought while they were married. She kicked him out and moved in her new boy toy, all while I was still staying there. Refused to let him into the home that he bought or to retrieve any of the items he left behind. My dad was completely heartbroken, but luckily, he didn't get where he was without at least a drop of intelligence. If she wanted the house, she'd have to buy him out. Until then, it would remain in both of their names. There she sat, in a $2 million house that she couldn't afford since she didn't have a job, and that she couldn't sell since it would require both of their approval. Even better, since she's the one living in it, she was responsible for all its levies and maintenance. Her boy toy quickly left, realizing that this money cow was too hungry for him to fill, leaving her completely alone and unemployed with his massive expense. Oh, I hate gold diggers. You know, I keep saying I don't hate people, and then I come on these videos and I say I hate this person. I don't actually hate anyone, but I seriously dislike gold diggers. Especially because I've been through this with a gold digger with my own father. I know what they're like, and it just makes my fucking blood boil. Ugh. Okay. Anyway, you made it to the end. Thank you. Oh my god, we made it. If you guys like this video, please consider giving it a like, subscribe, hit the bell notification to be notified when I have future videos like this so you never miss one. As always, the links to these stories will be in the descriptions, so head on over to Reddit and show those posters some love by giving their stories some upvotes, because you know they fucking deserve it. And while you're in the enchanted land of Reddit, head on over to r/RedditFairy and submit your stories, guys, because you never know. They just might show up in the next episode. So until next time, keep it classy, my dudes.